Good morning, Church on Wheel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me, this is what I pray. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. Jesus, oh Jesus, come and fill your life. Jesus, oh Jesus, come and fill your life. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you.
Oh, very nice.
Change my heart, oh God. We got Pastor Goodine coming right up.
Amen, 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 amen. Church, amen?
Amen.
Amen again.
Amen.
Good, good. That means everybody is awake. As I told you before, God was talking to me a long time, and now I'm listening. And the more I listen, the more He leads me to something. And the more he leads me to something, and the more he brings to my remembrance. And I want to tell you this week. It's in the count. It's in the count. You know how we say, count your blessings? Okay? If you want to know how good God has been to you, it's in the count. Now, that's all I'm saying for the last couple days. It's in the count. And He brought it to my remembrance. It's in the count. You want to know how good God been to you? And you personally? It's in the count. It's in the count. Now, when you sit down and start counting, and somebody call your name, to do something, the honeydew list, baby, I knew nothing about that. You counting? They mess the count up. You know how you be counting? 1, 2, 3, and then somebody say something, you say, I got to start over again? Well, when you start counting your blessings, and somebody interrupts you, you have to start over. And I'm telling you this, and when you start over the count, you'll find out that there was some blessings that you miscounted. So now the blessing that you had at, say, 15 is no longer 15. It's probably 30 now. But ain't not, is somebody interrupting you while you're counting, is that a good or a bad thing? You want to know how good God's been to you? It's in the count. No, you know, and your count and my count is different, but we all got to count. We got to count. So the next time you hear somebody say, well, you know, count your blessings, actually do that. And when you get interrupted and you got to start over, I guarantee you, he's gonna bring to your remembrance some blessings that you forgot. Or you didn't put in the first count. It's in the count. That's how good God has been to you. Or us. We, can I say good to we?
Good to we?
Yeah, good to we, I guess. Us, good to us. That's the correct English there, proper English. I don't know if it's correct, but proper English, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you want to know how good God's been to you, it's in the count. And then that's your personal count. But for all of us, how good God has been to us is one count. That's Jesus Christ. That's one. That's all we need for mankind. One. So when we count our blessings, if we want to look at our blessings from mankind perspective, one. That's Jesus Christ. Amen. There is no two. Now, if you want to look at it from a personal perspective, y'all like that word perspective? I looked that word up. Still don't know what it means, but it sounds good. Okay? Then all of us got a 1, 2, 3, ... Now, the 1, 2, 3, as I say, is the blessings today. The ... is those blessings that you need to find time to get to in your count. But the 1, 2, 3 are the blessings for that day. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow ain't promised. Trust me. There's some more tomorrow. It's harvest year. So there's more tomorrow. So today, we got a 1, 2, 3, ... And the ... we ain't got to those yet. But we know we got 3. He woke us up this morning. He started us on our way. That's 2. And guess what? You ain't had nothing to do with either one of them. I mean, yeah, we got dressed or whatever. You know, we thought, you know. But he woke us in our right minds with use of our limbs. So that 3 right there. And you ain't even got out of bed yet. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. That's 3. You ain't even got out of bed yet. You have not even had time to sin today. And you already got 3 blessings. You ain't even had time to commit any sins today. And you already got 3. But guess what? Even in our sinning, we still being blessed. Because there's a harvest this year. It's harvest year. It's harvest year. So, harvest year. We're getting a blessing on top of blessing, on top of blessing, on top of blessing. We can go on and on and on. We be here all day with that. Don't forget to tip the waitress. Be here all day with blessing on top of blessing, on top of blessing, on top of blessing. And we get 3 before we get out of bed. We get 3 before we get out of bed. And then there's another blessing. See, there's a blessing waiting on you when you get out of bed. When you become obedient. There's another blessing that you didn't even know. But you had to get up out the bed to get it. See, that's the blessing that come in the harvest. Because you know it's harvest year now. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, invite him. You know it's harvest year. See, the blessing, see, the harvest is already there, set up. See, Jesus told the disciples the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. So he called on the Lord of the harvest, and he would send more workers into the field. That means that there's a harvest out there of blinded people. There's a harvest out there for us. But see, our harvest could be one person. But in order to get that one person, we had to do what? Get up out of bed to go get that harvest that he had already set up for us. See, that harvest, we're the only ones that can reap that harvest. See, nobody else can reap that harvest. Why? It's because they're in our field. See, you got your own field. I got my field, you got your field. And there are people that are in my field that I get to reach that you'll never see. And there are people in your field that you have to reach that I'll never see. But we all in the field. And you know what? And you know what? That one that we go after, that he put in our way, look at the seeds it produced. Look at the seeds it planted. So the harvest is there for us. See, it's harvest year. It's harvest year. And as long as it's harvest year, he promised. See, God made a promise. See, God made a promise, an unconditional promise. Unconditional promise of what he was going to do. Unconditional. See, the conditional promise. See, the first conditional promise was Adam. He said, if you eat of this fruit, off this tree, you will surely die. That's conditional. See, if Adam didn't eat that, he would have life everlasting. But because he did, then there's a curse on man and he dies. So that's why he had to get him out of the garden, because there was another tree in the garden, which was the tree of everlasting life. So God had to get him out of that. Because if he'd ate from that tree, then he would have lived forever. See, there were two trees in there. The only one he couldn't eat from, he told him, it's conditional. That if you eat from this tree, you shall surely die. A condition. But when you get to Abraham, Abraham's promise was unconditional. He said, I will make your seed more accountable than the sand, but I'm paraphrasing here, more than the sands on the beach. That's your seed. That's unconditional. So see, the harvest, the harvest is unconditional. God, he promised that. So you know the psalmist said is that God put his word above his name. Put his word, his promise above his name. And because he put the promise above his name, we know him to be God, and that's his word. Do you know, we say what? Our word is our bond, but guess what? We lie. Not you, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody that can hear me. Don't tell me you ain't never told a lie. I don't care if it was to spare somebody's feelings or whatever. That went back on our word. But God's word, he holds his word. This is promise. And he made the promise unconditional. So if the promise is unconditional, then it's God's responsibility to keep his word. And he keeps his word. Now, if you read the story of then I'm getting somewhere. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting somewhere here. I got a sermon here, but something just started. In the children in the desert, God got angry at them because no matter what he did for them, they were ungrateful. And God said, "No more, I'm gonna strike them down." And Moses went to God and said, "God, if you do that, it's gonna say that you couldn't save them. It would go against your word. You made a promise." So he didn't strike them down. But he said there's a punishment that comes with that. Anybody 20 years and over ain't going in the promised land. So they wandered around in the desert 40 years. Those generations died off. So you talk about a new generation that's coming into the land that don't know nothing about sowing and reaping. They never planted a seed. They never watered their flock. God provided everything. God provided food for the animals so they could always continue to sacrifice. God provided food for them every day. They didn't have to do nothing. The clothes didn't wear out, shoes didn't wear out. They had food to eat every day. The animals had food to eat every day. Why? Because they had to continue to do their sacrifices. God made a promise. So God promised them. God made a promise. See, God's going to stay in his word. So see, he said, let me harvest. Let's harvest here, y'all. If you didn't think about it, let's harvest here. Now everybody in here, everybody hear me, all this stuff, whatever. You done seen the harvest. You done got something that you know you did not plan for. You got it. You saw in your mind You say, well, where did this come from? You know where it came from. He made a believer out of you. Because he's God. And he stuck to his word. He kept his promise. See, God made a promise. An unconditional promise. In harvest year. Unconditional promise. Unconditional. So God, it's God's responsibility to keep his word. It's God's responsibility to keep his word, just like it is our responsibility to keep our word when we tell somebody we're going to do something. So God had to do what when he told Abraham? Well, remember now, if y'all go look at the story, and you read and look at the Bible, he wasn't Abraham all the time. He was Abram. And he was a pagan. God got a pagan. And that pagan trusted God. When God said, head east. I'll tell you when you get there. He listened. It was counted righteousness. See, Abraham was counted righteous because he believed God. God said, head east. And God said, you know what? I will make your seed more than the sands on the beach. He listened. That was a promise. And God held his promise. See, God held his promise. But see, because it's harvest, you see how God holds his promise in the harvest. I don't know why I'm going here, but I'm going there. When Adam sinned, God put him in the garden and gave him a conditional. If or when you eat of this fruit, of this tree, you shall surely die. That's a condition. See, that's a condition. If then, if I know the if then condition, if you do this, then this happens, that's an if then. That was Adam. And guess what? That if then came true. But then also something else happened in there. God told him that what you did, because of that, the ground is cursed. The ground is cursed. It will bring forth thorns and thistles. You will work the sweat of your brow because of that. That's the if then. So he cursed the ground. Now, remember the story of Cain and Abel? And God liked one better than the other. Offering. Both of them came with an offering. Both of them came with an offering, but one came with the first of the animals, but the other one came from the first of the ground. But guess what? The ground was cursed. So God didn't look favorably on that one. The ground was still cursed. So God didn't look favorably on that one. And he got mad. And he killed his brother. So you see, when God makes a promise, he holds to it. See, God holds to it. And the promise, and I'm still, it's harvest here, y'all. And the promise is that he will not be mocked. What you plant is what you're going to get. What you sow, you shall reap. And it's harvest here. And guess what? It's just man. Now, everybody listen to me. If you ever see this on recording, you listening live. Think about your January blessing. Think about the January blessing that you got that nobody know you got. Think of the February blessing that you got that nobody know you got. got that nobody knows you got. Then the April blessing that you got that nobody knows you got. Harvest. Harvest. You got stuff you didn't even plant. It came up in the field. You got more than you planted. You planted one seed. You got 5 in the apple. You plant one seed, apple tree comes up, you take one apple off there, there's 5 seeds in there. You do what? Plant it in. So you got more than you plant. But I'm just saying that God made a promise. He promised that there will be a harvest. He promised. No, back up, hold it, y'all. Wait a minute. Yeah. Genesis chapter 20, in Genesis chapter 8, in verse 20, after the flood, Noah came out and Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of all the clean animals, the clean birds, and sacrificed burnt offerings on the burnt offering. He said, the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again will I cause the ground because of humans. No matter will I curse it because of humans. Even though every inclination of the human heart is evil. From childhood. So God made a what? A promise. Wasn't no unconditional. He made a promise even with the wickedness in our hearts. He made a promise that he would never curse the ground again. Never curse the ground again. Never. He made a promise. He says as long as, in this verse 22, as long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. He promised a harvest. He promised a seed time. There's a time to plant the seed. There's a time. And then he said there's a harvest. There's a promise. There's a promise on the harvest. He promised that. So you plant the seed. It's harvest season, y'all. It's harvest year. That's why he had me like this. Now I got it. Now I understand. Leviticus 19:9. Y'all ain't got to go with me. Let me go there. 19:9. 19:9 says, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God. He promised us a harvest, but he also gave us rules for the harvest. And the rule for the harvest is that when you harvest the field, you take what's back. You remember out here in the harvest? In the harvest, guess what? Guess what comes in the harvest? God provides for you first. How can you give the first fruits to God if he don't give them to you first? So in your harvest, he gives to you first. All the seeds and everything that come with it, he gives that to you first. You do anything you want with it. But he's giving you that first. But the only way for you to give to him back is that he's got to give to you first. So when he gives to you first, that's why he said, bring ye all the tithes to the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, to prove me now herewith. If I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, you will have room enough to receive, and I will rebuke the devourer. He promised the harvest that he would provide for you first. So you get the harvest first. He said, now, when I give you your harvest, he said, when you reap, don't take it all. Leave something. If you drop something, leave it in the field. Leave it there. What we left in January, we can't go back to that no more. We can't go back to February no more. We can't go back to March no more. We can't go back to April no more. We can't go to that no more. Whatever's left in the field is for somebody else. So we helping people in our harvest. See, God provides in the harvest for us and somebody else. Promise! So I was here, y'all. I promise. Now I know why he had me write this down. Leviticus 23. Leviticus 22 says, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap the very edges of the field or gather the gleanings of the harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. I am the Lord your God. That means he mentioned it again. So that means what? He's promising you a harvest. And he's telling you what to do with the harvest. That you take yours first. Get as much as you can. But don't go back over there a second time. Don't go back a second time. Don't go back a second time. Leave that for the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. So that means that your harvest is blessing you and somebody else. A promise. An unconditional promise. But he said, I will not be mocked. You will reap what you sow. I'm promising you a harvest. So you better be careful what kind of seed you plant. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody that can hear me, you better be careful what kind of seed you plant. He promised the harvest. He said there's a seed time and there's a harvest. When you plant that seed, oh yes. He promised that harvest. He promised it. See, he promised. He promised. He promised. Leviticus 24. Yeah. No, I'm reading it wrong. 25. 3 to 7. Okay, here it is. I got it now.
What is it?
Leviticus 25, 3 to 7. Say, for 6 years sow your field, and for 6 years prune your vineyards and gather your crop. But in the 7th year the land is to have a year of Sabbath rest, and Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the grapes of the untended vine. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you, for yourself, for your male, female servant, for the hired worker, temporary resident who live among you, as well as for your livestock and the wild animals in your land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten. They say during the 7th year, don't even leave the land alone. It will produce itself. Remember I tell you, take a pile of sand, pile it up, leave it alone. Watch what it does. It produces on its own. But you say, well, it's just grass and weed. But that's what? That's for some animal. I mean, some people eat weed, hey. Some people eat grass too, hey. It's up to you. But it produces on itself. It produced on itself. Promise. A promise. You see, for 6 years, that's what you do. And then you said, okay, 20, and 20. Okay, so he said, for my decree, verse 18, Leviticus 25, 18. Leviticus 25, 18 said, follow my decrees, be careful, obey my law, and you will live safely in the land. This is him talking about him going to a new land. Then the land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your field and live there in safety. You may ask, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not plant or harvest our crops? It's a blessing now. Here's the blessing. Unconditional. Unconditional. He said, I will send you such a blessing in the 6th year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant during the 8th year, you will eat from the old crop. So when you plant in the 8th year, you eating from what? The promise of the 6th year. And we'll continue to eat from that until what? Harvest in the 9th year. Well, this is the 9th year. Let me tell you, 2019 was the 6th year. That was when we got our 3-year blessing. And then in 2020 was the 7th year. We didn't plant nothing in the 7th year. I ain't planting nothing. I ain't planting no seeds and do nothing. In my envelope, and I wrote on the back of the envelope all the blessings I got. I kept that envelope sealed. Nothing went in it. And I was writing my blessings down on the back of the envelope. Sealed. Didn't sow no seed. But in 2021 was the 8th year. That was last year. That was the 8th year. We get to plant now, but you don't get no harvest in the 8th year. You just plant seed. So how you gonna eat? You ain't getting nothing from the 7th year. So there's no harvest in the 8th year. 8th year is plant year, sowing year. So what? For the 7th and the 8th year, we ate off of the 6th year, still eating. 9th year comes around, which is 2022. Harvest year. We're getting the harvest from the 8th year when we planted. We still eating from the 6th year, so we getting the double. You got blessings you didn't even plant. You got blessings you didn't even ask for. You got blessings that you don't even know where they came from. Because God made a promise that you will eat from the 6th year. He promised. He said it will produce enough for 3 years. Now God made a promise that even while we are reaping the harvest from the 7th year, we still eating from the 6th year. So we getting double this year. He made a promise. He said, if you plant that seed, oh yeah, I'm going to give you a harvest. And guess what? You're going to get more than you planted. And there's a blessing in the harvest. Now, the blessing in the harvest is you get the seed to replant. You ain't got to go out and buy no seed. You ain't got to buy nothing. God provides it all. He made a promise. God made a promise. See, God made a promise. Now I know why I had to write this stuff down. I'm going to write here. Deuteronomy 24. Deuteronomy 24, 19. In Deuteronomy, what did it say in 19? When you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheep, do not go back to get it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the works of your hand. I'm going to come back to that. When you beat the olives from your tree, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. When you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. And I'm going to come to that. That is why I commanded you to do this. You were slaves in Egypt. Oh my goodness, there were slaves in Egypt, and that was the Exodus. What did he do with the people? He took care of them in the wilderness. Promise. Even when they thought they were going to die. When they got to the Red Sea, they thought they were going to die. God made a promise that he would protect them. So he protected them. A cloud in the day from the sun, and fire at night for light. They didn't plant no seeds. They didn't go out reaping no harvest. They didn't feed no animals. They didn't have nothing. God took care of everything. God made a promise. God promised us a harvest. This ain't harvest year because I said it's harvest year. God promised a harvest. He promised a harvest. God's promise. But he said that when you leave that, when you become obedient, and you look out, you see, because that harvest ain't just for you. That harvest is for what? The stranger, the orphan, and the widow. You think it's for you. It ain't all for you. That's why he tell you, you get yours first. Why? Because you get yours first because you have to do what? Come and you do your tithes. Bring your tithes to the storehouse. See, as long as you're obedient, I will make sure you have a harvest. I'll make sure you have it to give. But guess what? Your harvest in your field is given. Not only is it given to God, but it's given to your fellow man too. And they don't even know it. They don't even know it. And they don't even know it. Now, church, we ain't a big church, but we didn't help some people. Didn't even know where it came from. So that meant that God had to make sure that it be in this house for it to meet this person. So when he says that when you reap your harvest, everything he gives it to you first. He said, get all you can get. Get all you can get. Whatever's left, leave it. And do you know what? Now this is now look here, y'all. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody hear me? This is how greedy we are. We harvest up, he gives us all of it in our hands, get as much as we can gather, put our chin on it, hold it. Drop one. Which one do we worry about? The one we left. You got all this, you can't even carry this, you ain't need all this. But you worried about the one you dropped. And do you know that you will go back into the field to look for that? But guess what? You never find it. Because it wasn't for you. You never find it. It wasn't for you. That was for somebody else. But now you all upset because you dropped one. What God is telling you that when you get